everyone. Today, we're going to conduct a class debate about legalizing same-sex marriage in our country. I have assigned two groups, the affirmative side and the negative side. The affirmative side believes that same-sex marriage should be legalized in the Philippines. On the contrary, the negative side strongly believes that same-sex marriage should not be legalized. I have invited three adjudicators to assess the ideas that will be presented by the two teams. The following are Ma'am Marilyn Catequista, the school principal, and also an English teacher. However, she didn't make it due to the busy schedule. Miss Rochelle T. Gapa, our English department head, and an English 7 teacher. And last but not least, Mr. Victoriano Patuluna, an English 10 teacher, and as well as our academic head. So now, I give the floor to our debate moderator, Miss April Joy Alfechi.
To our respected adjudicators, to all my classmates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to today's debate. Our motion for today's debate is resolved that same-sex marriage should be legalized in the Philippines. On my left, the positive side, are the proposition team. We have Kim Zara Kalami Mangubat, Catherine Marangit, and Timothy Carranza, with the researchers Patricia Marie Alingasa, Heidi Mendoza, and Kristen B. Calma. On my right, the negative side, are the opposition team. We have Francis Claire Bundok, Maria Antoinette Otor, Edgar Lester Rumupal, with the researchers Rosalien Cabigas, Margie Piedra Verde, and Luis May Dang. Our maximum time is 3 minutes each speaker, and our timekeepers will notify you if your time is up. At this point, I will give the floor to the first speaker of the proposition team, Kim Zara Kalami Mangubat.
The society we live is in the prison, where the hearts of the people are the judges and their eyes are the cold bars. To our highly respected adjudicators, to my able proponent and opponent, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are faced with a proposition. Let it be resolved that same-sex marriage must be legalized, and we, in the affirmative side of the House, strongly agree to the said issue. Every one of us has a right to choose, to love, and to marry. And it means that the opposite sex are allowed the law and the religion to marry. But how about the same-sex couples? It is very unfair if we apply these practices. It should have an equality for all of how God created us all equal. Here are 10 reasons of why we must legalize the same-sex marriage in our country. First, it increased the amount of children successfully adopted. Second, foster societal acceptance of gay couples and gay individuals, hospital visitation and medical rights. It will diminish youth suicide because civil unions are not the same. Same-sex marriage is already a reality. It's an issue of equal rights. Separation of church and state. No effects to the heterosexual community. And lastly, it will decrease the divorce rate. By these given benefits and reasons of why we must legalize the same-sex marriage, it is very obvious that it has more positive effects than the effects of marrying the opposite sex. Even though to most people, gay marriage should be illegal and should stay in its current state. I believe we need to change the world for the future generations. We fear that the different religions were going to clash, but now all the religions coexist. White people had black and Hispanic slaves, but we overcome the odds and now white men, black men, and Hispanic men can be equals. It is possible to overcome such fierce obstacles that overcome the obstructing same-sex marriage and straight marriages alike. Pope Francis said, "Tell me, when God looks at a gay person, does he endorse the existence of this person with love, or reject, or condemn the person? We must always consider a person." Here we enter the mystery of the human being. In life, God accompanied them starting from their situation. It is necessary to accompany them with mercy. The highest person of the Catholic Church already said and believed that only God can judge them, and Jesus loved all their children. For you to judge them is none of your business, for they have not done anything wrong to all of you. And according to Article 16, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or UDHR, stated that men and women of age doesn't have any limitation due to race of nationality, religion, and gender, and have a right to marry and to be found a family. They are entitled to as marriage, equal rights to as marriage. Same-sex marriage should be legalized and nationwide. Same-sex couples have just as much of a right to marry as heterosexual couples. We live in the land of equality. People need to open up their mind and stop being so upright. If getting married is the business of only the couple, thank you.
The first speaker of the affirmative team has fully consumed the total time of 3 minutes.
The first speaker of the negative side, we have Francis Claire Bundok.
Good morning to everyone. I am Francis Claire Bundok, the first speaker of the negative side. The analogies and arguments of the first speaker in the affirmative team are completely illogical, irrelevant, and invalid at all. It is because same-sex marriage is not good and brings nothing at all in our country. Therefore, same-sex marriage should not be legalized in the Philippines. I will refute the contentions of the other team now. Basically, let me begin with a biblical reference. According to Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13, if a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood is upon them. God didn't make Adam and Steve. He made Adam and Eve. Therefore, even the natural law has completely disagreed and disallowed same-sex marriage. Now, union of same-sex couple is not marriage. It is because marriage has always been a covenant between a man and woman, which is by nature ordered toward procreation. It denies the specific primary purpose of marriage, the perpetuation of the human and the raising of children. The male and female parenting styles are striking and of enormous importance to the child's overall development. It clearly says that children have dual needs that must be met. Gay men or women will not provide a traditional paternal or maternal role model to the detriment of the child. Next is about health arguments. People that are homosexual significantly contract and spread more HIV, AIDS, and STDs than the rest of the society because of the extreme, risky, vulgar behavior. Thus, it will just result into unproductive citizens. And lastly, this argument involves religious basis. All major religions of the world are opposed to it. Gay marriage exposes us even more risky and vulgar behavior, which does nothing for mankind. The number of people engaging into the same-sex marriage is certainly small. In America, there are only 8.7%. In Netherlands, there are only 3%, while in Canada, there are only 1.0%. To analyze the data given, the number of gay men and women doesn't even have the population. So then, we should not legalize same-sex marriage because the majority population of the people are not into this. I already reviewed the illogical arguments presented by the affirmative team, and I presented my argument too, so with that, I rest my case.
The first speaker of the negative team has consumed the time of 2 minutes and 19 seconds.
The second speaker of the positive side is Catherine Marangkil.
Marriage between a spouse and a spouse, not a gender and a gender. Hendrik Herzberg. Marriage are both ubiquitous and central all across our country. In every religion or non-religion, every social class, every race and ethnicity, people get married. As I belong to the affirmative side, we impose that the same-sex marriage should be legalized in the Philippines. And I would say that the ideas presented by the negative side is not acceptable because marriage, I firmly believe that it is a fundamental right, whether it is heterosexual or same-sex, marriage must be available to those who want it, and no one of us has a right to other people's approval. Same-sex marriage should be allowed. If both adults are consenting, then it shouldn't even be an issue. People uses the religion as the reason why the same-sex marriage should not be legalized, and that is not fair. That is not fair because not every one of us shares the same religion. Remember that marriage is granted by the government, not our religion. And marriage is not a religious issue, it's a human rights issue. It means that every one of us must deserve one equality by these human rights. I believe that no laws can dictate and limit a person to whom he or she wants to love. According to Pope Francis in the World Youth Day in July 2013, that if the homosexual are of goodwill and is in search of God, I am no one to judge. It is a right to interface spiritually in the life of a person. It is very obvious that we are not in the right place to judge and stop the heterosexuals from marrying. If we don't like them, who cares? Why don't you manage your own? Remember that we should respect them for they respect us. Same-sex marriage is banned according to the Bible. However, it says that Thou shalt not kill, lie, steal, nor disrespect thy mother nor father. Everyone has told a lie before. James chapter 9 verse 10 to 11 says that, who are you to judge your brother and sister? If you judge, you are not doing the law, but going against the law. There is only one judge. He can save you and break you. So who are you to judge your neighbor? A family is not created because of the children. The essence and nature of the family is not on the blood nor on the children. It is about acceptance, belongingness, communications or connectedness, empowerment, and responsibility. If your idea is that the same-sex couple cannot bear or create a child, what about those infertile couples? They can create or bear a child also, but yet they have a chance to marry? That's so ridiculous. Many of the countries became successful in legalizing the same-sex marriage, and that is enough to prove that there's a lot of positive effects. Many of the same-sex couples like Alcigaria and Chesmenpenko became successful also. You said that God will punish them. Is it said to you that He will do and allow that happen? If God can forgive Mary Magdalene, a prostitute girl, He can also forgive those same-sex couples. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in Him shall not perish but have everlasting life. With that, ladies and gentlemen, contemporary, rest our case.
The second speaker of the affirmative team has fully consumed the total time of 3 minutes.
The second speaker of the negative side, we have Maria Antoinette Autor.
Good morning, I am Maria Antoinette Autor, the second speaker. Apart from the arguments and the definitions, we, the negative team, can accept the contentions put forward by the negative. I affirmative. I will refute the contentions of the other team now. The second speaker mentioned earlier that it violates the right of the homosexuals. But to delve deeper, it violates the natural law. You also mentioned that it will degrade their rights. Actually, marriage is a privilege, not a right. The Constitution contains no explicit rights to marry. It is mentioned that the state has a valid interest in protecting the traditional definition of marriage, ensuring the traditional concept of marriage as being between a man and a woman. Basically, we cannot put same-sex marriage into the law of land, as it is not in the natural law. It is not even written in the Holy Book that either both men or women can marry, and so we don't find such any reasons to legalize it then. God made a man and woman so that each should be attracted to the opposite gender as themselves. This is a natural order. Ideally, marriage is to incentivize a man and a woman to enter into a permanent relationship which results into children to be raised in a home and to be cared by their mother and father. According to Mark chapter 10 verse 6 to 9, but from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What, therefore, God has joined together, let no man separate. This clearly says that God gave the definition of marriage founded by a man and a woman. After the religious arguments that proceed first to social aspects, the union of same-sex couples imposes its acceptance to the society. Through legalizing same-sex marriage, the state becomes its official and active promoter. The state calls on public officials to officiate at the civil ceremony and orders public school to teach its acceptability to children, which seems to be unproductive. Now let's talk about health. If we will allow same-sex marriage and legal endorsement, the level of promiscuity, mental health, monogamy, HIV, AIDS will increase due to the risky behavior of the homosexual couples. Same-sex marriage is pretty worthless and harmful to set into law of land. It only shows the eradication of traditional marriage that would result into social, family, health, and religion components. Therefore, we strongly agree to legalize same-sex marriage. I already refute the contentions of the other team now and presented my arguments. So with that, I rest my case.
The second speaker of the negative team has consumed the time of 2 minutes and 43 seconds.
The third speaker of the positive side, we have Timothy Carranza.
Everyone is free to live and love as they choose. Good morning, everyone, especially the respective teachers and my fellow competitors. I am the third speaker of the affirmative side. Same-sex marriage must be legalized. Why? In this instance, the homosexual, especially the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community will get the equality and the fair treatment that they were searching for many generations. My point is, if you don't want to marry your same sex, then don't. But if they want to marry their same-sex couple, then who are we to control their decision? Every one of us has a freedom to decide on our own. Remember that we are living on a democratic country. We need to recognize the human rights law here in the Philippines, wherein it promotes and encourages every one of us to respect all the freedom for all regarding of his sex, race, religion, or language. Religious ideology should not and will never be a foundation for law. And we don't need to hide behind those biblical terms and religious issues, because same-sex marriage is not a religious issue. It's a human rights issue. And every one of us can do whatever we want, and having a relationship and marrying your same-sex partner is not a crime and will not hurt anyone. I have here the additional reason why same-sex marriage must be legalized. First, same-sex marriage is a civil right. Second, gay couples make good parents. Third, gay marriages can bring financial gain to federal, states, and local government and can help boost the economy. Fourth, gay marriage provides both physical and psychological health benefits, and banning gay marriage can increase the psychological disorders. Fifth, denying some people the option to marry is discriminatory. Sixth, same-sex couples should have the same access and benefits enjoyed by the heterosexual marriage couples. 7. The concept of traditional marriage has changed over time, and the definition of marriage is always being between one man and one woman, which is historically inaccurate. Every person has the privilege to choose and marry the person they want. So who are we to control their lives and happiness? No one should be denied of their right to marry the one they love. Everybody deserves to be able to live happily ever after. And as far as I know, the second speaker of the negative side stated that she agreed to the said topic. So what would be the essence of this debate? With the facts, arguments, and opinions that we impose, we the affirmative side strongly impose that same-sex marriage should be legalized in our country. With this, we finally rest our case.
The third speaker of the affirmative team has consumed the time of 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
The third speaker of the negative side, we have Edgar Lester Rumupal.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. From the third speaker said that, our second speaker said that she is in favor of same-sex marriage. That is not unacceptable. She was able to experience a short speech disorder that she wasn't able to pronounce the word this. So, let's proceed. We cannot accept the contentions made by the affirmative, and so we will refute the arguments given one by one. First, legalizing same-sex marriage is not practical. Doing so would mean revising the Constitution, the Civil Code, the Family Code, and the concept and nature of marriage. Our country cannot afford such big change in the laws. It would not be easy for everyone because legalizing such act would affect the people governed by such laws. The legalization of same-sex marriage will start the corruption of the minds of the people, especially the children. If we do not show the proper values and the principles to the young generation, who else will? The younger generations will be the hope of the motherland. How can our country be progressive and successful if the people governing the nation have corrupted minds and low morality? Legal endorsement of same-sex marriage would destroy the institution of marriage, resulting in negative effects on children, crime rates, healthcare costs, and religious freedom. When we say same-sex marriage, it disconnects marriage from childbearing by making marriage just about mating. This will result in soaring cohabitation and illegitimacy to children and society. Marriage is not the creature of any state. Rather, it was established by God. Here are the reasons why we should not legalize same-sex marriage. The word marriage will be meaningless. The same-sex marriage would make heterosexual divorce too easy. Same-sex marriage would require schools and society teach tolerance and acceptability. Same-sex marriage would bring about divine retribution. Marriage, as I said, is not the creature of any state. So there is an enclosed separation between state and the church. Marriage is not the creation of law. Marriage is a fundamental institution in accordance to natural law. Love and companionship are usually considered integral to marriage, but they are not sufficient to define it as an institution. The first speaker said that marriage is a right, but we cannot deny the fact that marriage is a privilege and not a right. I will end this debate by saying that God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So therefore, I end this debate by saying that we should not legalize same-sex marriage. And so with that, we rest our case.
The third speaker of the negative team has consumed the time of 2 minutes and 55 seconds.
Thank you very much for the very well presented ideas. So this time, I would like to ask five students who will give reflection for our issue for today. So let's start with Hannah.
We all know that same-sex marriage has different advantages and disadvantages. But still, according to the Bible, it is a mortal sin. You are violating the God's law. And also it states that men are for women and women are for men. Men are for women and women are for men. Then, God said that, go to the world and multiply. How we can multiply a race if men are for men and women are for women? Therefore, I strongly disagree to legalize the same-sex marriage here in our country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Hannah. This time, let's call in Cindy.
I am not in favor of legalizing same-sex marriage because, in the first place, it is unacceptable. I am not condemning people. It is just the truth that speaks. It is not about human rights. It is about the God's law. It is a mortal sin. God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Marriage is sacred that God allows only for man and a woman. Violating that law means you are violating the law of God. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. This time, let's call in Paulo.
Upon hearing the reasons, definitions, and opinions of the both sides, I decided to agree with the positive side because same-sex marriage is already a reality. Men, women, gays, lesbians deserve to love and to be loved. The Philippines is a democratic country. God created the world equally, so we should respect it. We, the people, need to spread the word equality. Therefore, I conclude that same-sex marriage should be legalized.
Thank you, Paulo. Next, let's call in Karen.
Upon hearing the arguments of the two sides, I decided to agree with the negative side. It is because we cannot put same-sex marriage into the land of law and it's not in the natural law. It is not written in the Holy Bible that either both man and woman can marry. It also violates God, for He said that a man will marry a woman to create a family. If we will allow the same-sex marriage, the mindsets of the young ones will be affected and the traditional that we have might be eradicated. Family is the primary unit of the society wherein there are mother and father, not two mothers or father. I also like the last point of the negative side, which they stress, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Okay, thank you so much, Karen. Now this time, let's call in the last one to give the reflection, Miss Jamaica.
After hearing the argument, my reflection is similar because we have different views and opinions, and we have to respect. And if a man lies with a man, and a woman lies with a woman, and a man chooses a woman, or a woman chooses a man, it is not our business. It is their choice. Therefore, I am not in favor of the two sides. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You really did your research. Now, this time, let's call in Miss Rochelle Gapa, one of our judges, to give her comments and suggestions, the collaborative comments and suggestions.
So, good morning everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, how was it?
That was very nervous.
Okay, so, upon hearing you guys presented all your ideas, it was a job well done. However, there are some points to consider. Okay, so I with Sir Patila observed that both sides presented proofs and evidences of their stand by citing authors. Also, you have cited articles and biblical context, right? However, there are some speakers, let me stress this one for you to be better speakers in the future. So I observe personally, especially the first and the second speakers of the affirmative side, that you talk so fast. Okay? I would specifically mention the second speaker because in the first lines, the phrase that was read to us that she was cited as an author, right? We weren't able to understand it due to very fast talk. But in the end, she was able to maintain her stand that she is in favor of legalizing the same-sex marriage. And also, the third speaker of the affirmative was able to rebut one, the stand of the second speaker in this negative side. So that was very good. So let's proceed to this group. You know what? You have presented substantial ideas, facts. Unfortunately, you were able to omit a very short word, but the most important word to mention. And that is not. N-O-T. So, I would also commend the third speaker being the last speaker, and he was able to summarize everything. And he was able to answer the, what do you call this? The ideas presented by the affirmative side. So having said that, here is the result. Okay, so if you observe, the negative side have presented it very well. Unfortunately, with that certain not. So, the winner is the affirmative side. Now, who do you think is the best speaker? You are all good speakers. Okay, congratulations for that. But there is one who stood out. Okay, so our best speaker is from the negative side, Miss Frances Claire. And our best debater, when we say best debater, he or she was able to presented substantial ideas and in organized form. So our best debater is none other than Edgar Lester.
Okay, having said the suggestions and the comments, may I call in the affirmative side and the negative side to please stand up and please congratulate one another for a job well done. Okay, for your assignment, I want you to make a reaction paper about today's issue, about legalizing same-sex marriage in our country. Thank you very much.